wild horses. Then I actually went to spend a full year in Kenya, also studying spotted hyenas, their behavior in the Masai Mara. And now I'm back to Namibia, and I'm now doing my PhD on brown hyenas.
Amazing. Well, I mean, so you really are a hyena, a hyena lover, as it were, and something that you've definitely focused on in your studies.
Yes.
Before we get into that and why you got into it, tell us a little bit about the Brown Hyena Research Project itself and what work, you know, yourself and the team are up to there in Namibia.
Yeah, so the Brown Hyena Research Project, it was created in 1997 by Dr. Ingrid Wiesel. And we study the populations of brown hyenas that live here on the coast of the Namib Desert in southern Namibia. And we studied those hyenas because they're ecologically unique, you know, like with these environments that they live in. And it's also mostly because they rely on seal colonies for food. So we study different clans around the town of Lüderitz, and we use like different methods to collect data. So we use lots of camera traps. So we have camera traps deployed all over the different areas, for example, at den, at latrines, at scent mark spots. So we can monitor the activity in all these areas. We can know which dens are active or not. So we can also follow the new cubs that are born and all that, so we can estimate population size. We also color some hyenas. Depending on funding, we try to color like around 2 hyenas per year, so we can like track them, follow their movements. We can see like how much kilometers they walk. We can see their home range, where they spend most of their time. And then we also do some direct observations, especially at the seal colonies, to understand their behavior, especially for foraging and hunting. And yeah.
Amazing. So it's a pretty broad spectrum study, and you're looking at all different aspects of the whole population. I mean, I know that part of Namibia and Africa is extremely unique in the environment, like you say, that huge seal colony, and the strange land predators that actually go for them, like the brown hyena, of course, one of the sort of higher up species, even though they get bullied a little. Tell me though, brown hyena, you know, you were into the spotted hyena. What made you focus on brown hyena? What was the attraction?
It's just that here it's a very special place. It's very unique, and brown hyenas are very interesting. They, like, compared to the spotted hyenas, they are mostly scavengers. Like spotted hyenas are real hunters, but brown hyenas will scavenge most of the time. And it's just very interesting to observe the behavior at the seal colonies and how they kind of adapt to hunt the seal pups. And it's also pretty amazing to just see those large carnivores on the beach in Namibia and in such environment. And yeah, I just think brown hyenas are very special, and there's a lot to study about them, and it's just very interesting.
Yeah, well, that's plenty enough reason to want to study them. You know, I know a lot of our viewers get very excited when we see brown hyena. You know, it's a far less common species that we see, but we do catch them in the dry areas where we have cameras. For those people out there, you know, who maybe know a little bit more about spotted hyenas, what can you tell us about brown hyenas, you know, in particular, about their life and how they live, their hunting techniques, things like that? Yeah,
so for people who don't know much about hyenas, as you said, they must not be confused with spotted hyenas, because they're not much smaller, but they're a bit smaller than the spotted, but they look very different. They have like those long shaggy hairs, they have striped legs, pointy ears, and yet their behavior is different. They live in much smaller clans. They're mostly scavengers, and they're mostly nocturnals too in most places of Africa. So that's why they're so elusive and so rare to see. But here in the desert, yeah, you can see them during the day. At least in my study area, I see a lot of them during the day, and they come at the seal colony very often, and they just either look for seal carcasses on the beach, or they will actually hunt the seal pups, some of them. They have different hunting techniques, which are very interesting to observe.
When it comes to the brown hyena, you said that they exhibit some interesting hunting techniques. Now, obviously, they're known for scavenging. What hunting techniques have you seen from the brown hyenas?
So first of all, so in my study area, I know different individuals, and I have some individuals that I've never seen hunting, and I have some individuals that hunt like most of the time. And so the most common hunting technique, I would say, would just be like the hyenas first stopping, looking at the seals, looking for like any little pup that could be away from another group of seals, or that could be on his own and easy prey, easy to catch. And the hyena would usually start creeping it. So like going a bit low and then slowly approaching it. And then if the pup doesn't move, if it's sleeping and doesn't realize, the hyena then can just catch it. It's very quick. They just grab the pup, crush the skull, okay. And the pup dies immediately. So it's like a very clean death.
Very quick.
And another funny technique that we can observe from some individuals that we call shamming is that the hyena will lay down next to a group of seals and until the seals forget that the hyena is here. And once the seals are completely relaxed and they forgot that the hyena is here just laying down, the hyena will start crawling slowly towards the group of seals, and this way they can catch a little pup.
That's amazing. Actually, I've never seen that happen. I've heard of that actually being a behavior. So having seen it must have been really special the first time you saw it, and I'm sure it'll be interesting in your studies going forward. Amazing. What is the population of brown hyena in Namibia? What is the estimated population, I suppose, in such a difficult environment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the estimates like worldwide, they're like between 5,000 and 10,000 mature individuals. They're classified as near threatened. And in Namibia, they estimated between 500 to 2,500 individuals in the country. The bigger population is, I think, in Botswana.
Okay, interesting. I mean, I've also noticed in my time in the field that they're spreading into areas that we otherwise wouldn't have seen. For example, along the Chobe River, they've actually started seeing more tracks of brown hyena, and even the occasional sighting there. So they really are in going into areas that we never really thought. Certainly not more subtropical or wet areas, riverine areas like that. But you mentioned for the hyenas themselves, that the population status is quite a broad spectrum. Obviously, they face a lot of threats along the way. What are some of the threats that you think they're currently facing?
Well, I think in the majority, the threat, like in general, it's mostly the human-wildlife conflict, because hyenas in general, they don't have like a very good reputation, and so most people, I think, want them gone that actually wants to protect them. And I think there's also some bad ideas that the farmers have that brown hyenas could be responsible for predation on their livestock. But actually, brown hyenas, they very seldom hunt livestock. And so they can be killed on farms for like misunderstanding them, and because farmers think they're a threat, but they actually aren't. But here in southern Namibia, around Lüderitz, it's mostly national parks around, so we don't have farms like you can have anywhere else. And so I think the main threat that we have here would be roadkills, especially at night, because the hyenas move a lot around at night, and we have some tar road with big trucks that drive at night, and it's pretty common to find carcasses of brown hyenas on the side of the road, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's very sad. I mean, in all of our African for Good shows, we talk about the impacts and potential threats to the species we talk about, and of course, human-wildlife conflict is one of the most difficult to overcome, and probably the most common threat, for all species. So, as you say, in areas where you have large protected areas like around Lüderitz, certain national parks, then of course they are provided more protection. It's really once they go outside the reserves that it gets more tricky, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, moving on to some of the individuals that you look at, you said you guys try to collar, roughly 2 individuals a year. Do you ever name them? I know it's not a typical thing to do in science, but do you ever name the individuals that you've got?
Yeah, I actually do. Because in like for my study, I'm studying a population that lives around a seal colony. And so I'm just sitting at the seal colony every day from sunrise to sunset. And I just record everything that's happening at the seal colony. So I record how many individuals, and I wanted to know how many different individuals come and visit the seal colony. And the way that you can identify those different individuals is through the stripes that they have on their front legs. Because each hyena have different stripes, and it's like their fingerprints. They're unique. So you can ID from that. So with a big camera lens, I'm able to take good photos of the legs, and I can ID my different individuals. And so yes, I give them names to make it easy to record them. And I usually give them city names just because I feel like it fits for both males and females, because you can't tell the difference between a male and a female. So I feel like city names fit for both sex, and it's also easier for me because then I don't have to, it's easier for me to find new names if they all have city names.
But really interesting, and it's I guess a nice way for you to move forward. How many individuals have you named so far, or that you've recorded so far? So
at the seal colony, I have let's say a group of around 15 hyenas that I see on a regular basis, so that I often see at the colony that I know. Now I start knowing their I don't know if I call that personalities, but like the different hunting strategies, because they're all very different in the way that they hunt, that they look for food. So I have around 15 individuals that I know well, that I recognize. Also, I recognize them through their injuries. For example, I have one that is missing a foot. So this one is very easy to recognize. Okay. I have another one that's missing half an ear. So he's also very easy to recognize. And but overall, since 2018, and including photos from the camera traps, I could ID 65 different hyenas in my study area, which is a very large number. So it really means that they rely on the seal colony for food, and that lots of hyenas from other territories also travel through the area to come and look for food at the seal colony. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, that's amazing. I would never have thought so many individuals in one area like that. And I'm sure there's more that you'll find along.
Yeah, I mean, lots of the 65 hyenas I've only seen once, or only captured once on my camera traps. So it's not a real number. And also sometimes I only get one side. So if I get one side and then another day I get the other side, I might think that there are 2 different hyenas when they're actually the same one. So those numbers it's an estimate. They're not real numbers, but it gives a rough idea of what is going on. I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah, no, awesome. I'm sure there'll be many more, and what a fun and interesting study to be a part of. While you've been out there, obviously you're spending long hours in the field, often I'm sure in a couple of weeks at a time, sometimes longer maybe. But do you have any special memories or special sightings with the hyenas or any other animals that you can remember that comes to mind?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, every time I go out in the field, it's already very special, because I'm just there all alone sitting at the seal colony. So I see all of these very special behaviors. For example, I saw a mating of brown hyenas on the beach. So that was very special, because it's something that's really rare to see. So that was very exciting for me to witness such behavior. But otherwise, I got a few close encounters with the hyenas, because they're just very curious animals. So some days when I was just sitting on the beach, they just see me from the distance and they wonder what is that thing on the beach? And they come and investigate. So they come really close to me, and it's always very special moments for me. There's also plenty of black-backed jackals there. And the jackals are also very curious. They're not afraid at all. They will come to me all the time. if I look away, they will try to steal my bag. So there's like lots of interactions with the jackal. So you have to be careful with them because they can be stealing your things all the time, and
Your
but
stuff.
they're fun to be around. And I had one nice experience at night with a brown hyena that I will always remember. I was actually with a film crew filming brown hyenas in a ghost town, the ghost town of Elizabeth Bay. And the night was coming, and we saw some hyenas going inside one of the buildings of the ghost town. And so the crew stayed in front, and I went at the back of it because there was another exit at the back to wait and see if the hyenas would come out from the other side. And the night came. It was dark, but it was full moon, so we could still see. I didn't have a light, and that hyena comes outside from the building and comes straight towards me. So I just go down on my knees, and the hyena comes straight at me, and it starts sniffing me. And it was very special because it was completely dark, and I could just see like the outline of the face of the hyenas just in front of me with the moonlight. And it was just a very special moment having this hyena sniffing me for like 20-30 seconds, and then it just left, very calm. And obviously these kind of experiences are very unique, and I feel very privileged to be able to have such experiences.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. I mean, I know a lot of our viewers, have the impression from, just bad PR for hyenas across the board that, they're these vicious animals that, will almost attack without thinking. And for the most part, they're really not. They're actually quite gentle and avoid conflict, especially with humans if they can.
Yeah, well, brown hyenas are like that. I don't know if I would have reacted the same with spotted hyenas, because spotted hyenas are real like hunters, like you could be in danger with spotted hyenas, but with brown hyenas, they won't attack humans if they don't feel threatened, So if you have a hyena around you and you just stay calm, the hyenas, there's no reason for the hyena to hurt a human, not to attack a human.
Awesome. I had a similar experience in Botswana as well, actually. In camp, there was a hyena that often used to come around, this young male, and they were on the walkways. There's often a little gap between them on the wooden walkways, and he would use that little gap to get onto the walkway and walk up into our main area. And he would actually start eating the furniture because, that's what they do. And he came up once when we were just sitting there, and he walked right up to us, sniffed my knee, and slowly turned around and walked away. And I was amazed at how, as you say, this is a powerful predator, potentially dangerous. And obviously, if you're vulnerable and laying down or asleep in the bush, that would have been much more dangerous. But it always struck me that
they're just mostly curious, those animals. They just investigating everything that's new, and yeah, just being curious.
Awesome. Well, what a cool experience, Marie. People out there always, want to get involved with these kinds of projects if they can. And certainly our viewers are always keen on potentially helping out. What can people do out there to get involved with the Brown Hyena Research Project?
Well, we do take some volunteers sometimes for usually periods of 3 months. So, so there are more information. If people want more information, they can go on the website of the Brown Hyena Research Project, and they can either find information on the website, or they can just directly send a message, and we'll do our best to answer all the questions. And if people want to help, they can also make donations, because we're always happy if we can, buy new equipment, buy more camera traps, buy more GPS collars for the hyenas. So it's the same, all the information you can find on the website, or you can directly contact us from the website if you want to get involved in any way.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely share all that info with everybody. So thank you, Marie. Going forward for you, what are your hopes for the future in terms of your work there in Namibia? Obviously to get a PhD at the end.
Yeah. Well, regarding my study, I would obviously keep on following that population that I'm currently studying, because I think it's very interesting to see how the population do on the long term. And also my study now, it's taking place in a very restricted area. So it's completely undisturbed by people or tourism, but they're planning to open this area for tourism in the future. And that's what I'm trying to develop with my study. It's to create an ecotourism site where tourists could go and observe the brown hyenas, but without disturbing them. So my hope for the future would be that tourists could go there, observe the hyenas, that they could that we could help promoting that species, and also help with with changing the reputation of just the hyenas in general. And I think that would do a lot of good for the conservation of the species and even of hyenas in general.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, many of our viewers will know I'm a true advocate of having sustainable, well-managed conservation tourism, that can really work alongside conservation, and of course just the science of getting more and more information. And I think that would be an unbelievable experience. As I said, just spending time in Botswana with the very few where we see them relatively often, brown hyena, people love it, and we would go sit there for hours to wait for them to come across the pan and eventually come back. I think that would be an amazing experience.
Yeah, and my study area with the seal colony is amazing. I mean, sometimes I had up to 5 hyenas at the same time at the seal colony during the day, which is, I think, something that you don't see anywhere else. So it's a very unique place. And I really hope that people could come and enjoy and learn more about the hyenas by actually watching them, because they're very elusive species and difficult to watch anywhere else, as you were saying. So that would be a great ecotourism site.
Awesome. Well, good luck, Marie, and good luck to you with the project. I hope everything goes well, and it sounds like you guys are doing some amazing work out there, and I'm sure if there are some viewers out there interested in watching that, you'd love to have them on board. Of course, it's always nice to get more help out there, but thank you so much for chatting with us today and taking the time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Good luck with the PhD. And yeah, hopefully we'll get up there. Maybe we'll get a camera in there at some point. That would be amazing. We'll have to talk to the team. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. And thank you all for joining us on the show. And please join us again next week for AfriCam for Good, brought to you by explore.org. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay informed for any of our upcoming shows. But from all of us here in the AfriCam team, it's cheers for now.